Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Bonsoir, mes amis. It's me, Andrew Berkshire, here with my good friend, Imam, for Game Over Montreal. And Habs win, baby! First of the year. Kay, how do you feel about this game?
Let me just start by saying you just got Olayed off home ice, baby. How does it feel? It's always fun to watch that happen to a team. And it's the Wings, whose fans have recently been absolutely, you know what? I don't even feel like they have enough life in them to say that they've been hard to deal with, but occasionally they've been like a little mosquito biting at me. So I feel bad, but I also don't. That was a very good game. I'm very happy with that game, and I'm glad that that's a win that they earned because their first win of the season. It should be one they earned. Should be good off the start.
Yeah, and it's nice to see them get one in the win column because I think we both agreed that they outplayed the Leafs in game one. It was an interesting game in terms of the Leafs kind of just bumbled their way into a win. Like I don't think they really played that well, but they got like that's hockey sometimes. I thought the Canadiens were the better team overall, but sometimes you lose. Frederick Goulet says, Andrew rocking the sofa. Yeah, my studio is not set up yet. So to give everyone a little bit of a look behind the scenes, it's been a year, or I guess I would say even more than that, of scrambling to try to get things done. And there have been times where I've been ahead of schedule, but the last stretch I have not been able to be for a good long time. So we are just trying to figure things out on the fly here to start the season for the Game Over Network. That's just the hand that we've been dealt in the economy that we've been dealt. So lots of fun stuff to look forward to, but we're having to change things up here and there over the course of the season. We're probably going to introduce new things over the course of the season. We might bring new people in as well over the course of the season. So there's lots to come. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure that this thing survives, and we're going to build it to be what it needs to be for you all. But before we get into that, we have a great show tonight. We're going to talk about Zach Bolduc and what is already looking to be one of the most hilarious trades in NHL history. And the fact that he has 2 goals, which is more than the entire St. Louis Blues lineup right now, which is great. We're going to talk about Jakub Dobeš, who was phenomenal tonight. We're going to talk about Oliver Kapanen, 2 goals in 2 games to start this year. We're going to check in on Doc and Line, and then we're going to finish the show by just going gangbusters on the top line, because that's what we do on Game Over Montreal. We talk about Nick Suzuki, Uri Slafkovsky, and Cole Caulfield all the time. All the time. We love it, and you love it, because they're the coolest. But before we do that, we got to talk to you about our partners, Inchu Bijou, and I'm going to show you a quick ad that I put together. We're going to make better ads during the season, but again, we're all behind. Inchu is back with us again this year, and I'm so excited because I love them. And before we get into the first period, let's check out our partners, Inchu Bijou.
At the famous chateau at 4000 Rue Saint-Ambroise lies one of Montreal's coolest secrets, a glamorous Gothic jewelry store owned and run by women. Inchu Bijou isn't just a business. They've built a community that supports bold creativity and expression. When I was first introduced to founder Astrida Pisigomian's shop, I was floored by the detail, vision, and scale of what she's built from her own mind. I don't think anyone would call me goth, but I know an innovator when I see one. Along with building their own business, Inchu Bijou also hosts markets for vendors in their space called Marché Maleficarum, boosting their whole community. If you don't live in Montreal, explore inchubijou.com, where you'll find over 800 designs that range from affordable to bespoke. Check out Inchu Bijou right now, a Game Over partner from the beginning.
Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. Make sure you smash that like button. Oh, I accidentally switched it to the second period, so I'm going to fix that quickly while I throw quickly to Kay. Kay, how are you feeling about one Zachary Bolduc, as Blue Sky was calling him tonight, Golduc?
Man, I am so happy with that player and that acquisition. I saw someone say that the attention all went to the Dobson trade this summer, and rightly so, but I think Bolduc was a very good acquisition for this team. You can never have enough of talented offensive guys, right? And I think we're seeing that out of Bolduc. I'll be so honest with you. I did not know anything about Bolduc going into this season. Honestly, it was like to the point where I was like, I need to do my homework about this, and I just never did. So literally just first impressions off the Habs, just really happy with that player. And it's so fun to watch a guy just create. Like, it's just fun. He's a fun player to watch, I think, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. I also didn't know a ton about him when the trade happened, but I knew enough that when I saw it posted, I was like, that's fake. Like, that's just not real. Like, how do you get a guy who's pushed almost 20 goals as a 21-year-old for Logan Mailloux, who I think most of us in Canadiens fandom saw as like damaged goods in a way, right? Like, there's baggage
Leftovers
attached.
from the old routine.
Yes, and like there's baggage attached to Logan Mailloux, fair or not. I think it is fair. Like there's just you have to understand that he's got some shit, that he has to deal with, and he's still in the process of, hopefully becoming a better person as a result of his off-ice activities that we will not have to get into anymore because we don't have to talk about him, which is great. But Bolduc, when I looked into him, I was like, okay, so he's a good two-way player, which is great. A little bit rough and tumble, which is always fun to have, especially come playoff time. And the thing that I noticed the most is heavy wrist shot and likes to shoot from the high slot. And very decent off the rush. And so far this year, yeah, the wrist shot is super nice. Like, he can snipe that thing, and he is very active off the rush. He drives nicely to the net. He goes to the right areas, and I think he's got that, like, he's like the connective tissue on a line, right? A lot in the same way as Brendan Gallagher, where he may not be the most flashy guy, but he makes lines work. And having a couple of those guys in your lineup is so important when you're trying to build a contender. So I'm really impressed with him. I hope that he scores like every game while they do this, like,
incoming.
not like the whole season, but just like every game while they're doing these home openers, because they have 4 different home openers to start the season.
Much fun.
And then they go home, right? And I want to hear the ovation in the Bell Center when Zach Bolduc from Trois-Rivières is like the leading goal scorer in his first couple Habs games. Like, that's going to be so hype.
That's so sick. Like, we know eventually someone will catch up, but until they do, I want him to have his moment. I saw someone say, like, they posted like a picture of Wayne Gretzky, and they said Brendan Gallagher when he has a Quebecois center to play with. And I'm thinking of the Dano line, I think, and it's just also just to kind of just bounce off that, because I think Bolduc is part of the reason why, but man, isn't it great to see Brendan Gallagher kind of pick up off the continued road that we saw last year that was like, oh, he's like back, right? He's not going to be the player he was at his peak, but he's back. And I think having effective line mates in that way just does that for him. So I'm glad that that's also a combination that's been working. Marty's been cooking. I know people have been like kind of upset about some of these lines, but I think they've been cooking. Like, I think it's been going well. And I think
overall,
this is one of the big examples. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Kay. I see Piano Matt was also mentioning David Desharnais for Brendan Gallagher, another Francophone center that he worked exceptionally well with. But I think that's the thing about Brendan Gallagher is, like, yeah, you could pick like any identifying factor and be like, Brendan Gallagher works well with them because he does. Like, I looked into it. I think it was for Locked On Canadiens last year. I was talking to them. They were doing something on Brendan Gallagher, and I looked up like all of the teammates that Gallagher had played. I think the cutoff was really low, like 50 minutes of ice time with. And there was like 77 or something like that. And I asked them, like, how many do you think he had? Like, they were better. The results were better with Gallagher than without Gallagher. And they guessed, like, I don't know, like 50. And it was like 74 out of 77. And all of the ones that he had a negative impact on were like 52 minutes total, and it's probably just like line changes and stuff. Like
Yeah.
he just
yeah.
is so impressive, and I like it even more that he's not necessarily visibly impressive. Like in game one, I noticed he had like a chance to score, and he did the Scooby-Doo thing where he just like tries to go so fast that he almost falls over. And he's always done that.
That's just Galley, man.
It
That's
is
just
like
Galley.
he's just a lovable character, and he gets it done. But you know who else got it done tonight, Kay? Jakub
else?
Dobiš.
Man. Oh, what a night.
Man.
I think Jakub Dobiš has to have these nights. He doesn't have to be like this great every single start, but he has to be a good, reliable backup goalie because we need him to play a lot. There's a lot of back-to-backs. I believe that the Habs are the teams with the most back-to-backs of the league. Likely thing for them to be, frankly. Like it seems he needs to be able to fill that role because I don't want to touch Jacob Fowler. And like I'm sure he knows Jacob Fowler exists. He knows that like there's already like a lot of excitement from like I don't think the front office is in any rush to get Jacob Fowler up in Montreal, but Jakub Dobiš knows that he exists, right? So I think this is exactly what he needed to do. He needed to have an amazing night. He's so funny in that you will just see him. It's chaos. It's almost like, dare I say it, like almost Fleury-like in the way where
Yes.
it's like it shouldn't be working and yet it is. And for him, it's just working. And I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing out of him because he needs to be reliable enough for the team to reliable enough to rely on, I guess.
Yeah, apologies for that. I'm just tangled here. Yes, I love the Fleury comparison because they're very similar in they're all athleticism, right? And they're kind of throwback goalies. Like Dobiš is very much a battler, and he can get lost a little bit in like pushing too hard side to side. He like loses his feet a little bit, loses his net. But when he's on, he just looks so spectacular and so exciting to watch that I just adore him. And he's always got this smile on his face whenever you see him on the bench when he's not playing. Like he just loves being here and doing this job. And it's hard not to love guys like that, and especially when he's so fun to watch. And he was absolutely dominant tonight. He gave Detroit fits. Now, they were terrible in terms of shot selection. Like I don't trust the expected goals tonight. I know that the Canadiens kind of sat on their laurels after they got a lead and let Detroit try to come back, but the shot locations that the Red Wings arena was posting, I don't believe it because after the first period, they had like half their shots in the slot, more than, and I think about 80% of them were from the boards.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, it was interesting, but big takeaway is Dobiš after a playoffs where I don't think he was bad, but he at times looked a little overwhelmed. Strong preseason, even stronger first game of the year. I'm really impressed with like the mentality he brings into it.
100%. I think every time you listen to him talk, he's just talking about how exciting it is and how much of a privilege it is. And, he like always brings up how many teams there are in the NHL and how many spots that means there are for goalies. And he's one of them, right? And I think that kind of perspective is so important, especially for a younger guy. And for a guy who understands that there's pressure for this team, there's expectations. It's not just go out there and do your best anymore. I think he's fun because I think he's like one of those goalies that pisses off the opponents a lot.
Yes.
So I've just got a reaction image ready to go throughout the season that just says you just got rage baited by Jakub Dobiš because he loves doing that to his opponents. But I think today he was just so caught up in making all those saves that he didn't have time. But what I wouldn't give to hear that man and what he says on ice, because it's probably super entertaining.
Yeah, he seems to be a very good trash talker. There were several times last year where people got really upset, and I love that. And I saw in the comments here, I think it was, let me see, I just want to push up a little bit. Adam7777 says Dobesh also had a really good preseason, and Keck Show says, but this game was better than what we saw last year in terms of technique. I agree. And I think the big change that I saw from Dobesh tonight, and a little bit in preseason, but to be honest, I don't watch preseason super closely because who does that? That's crazy talk. Only obsessives. Only crazy young obsessives, and I can't do that anymore with 2 kids. But what I noticed from Dobesh is his control of rebounds. It's not just that they're like placed in the right areas. It's last year it was like so much effort was going to making the save that what happened after was just crazy town, and it was all about his athleticism to recover. This year, especially tonight, I thought his rebound control was pretty good, and even shots where he had to adjust. There was one, I think it was late in the game, where he made a blocker save that was like a double deflection, and he kind of like shifted over towards his right side, I guess. Yeah, blocker side. And I thought it was going to just like bounce everywhere, and he just like controlled it and dribbled it to the corner. And to be able to do that on a reactionary save where the puck changes direction is pretty damn impressive. So good on Dobish.
Yeah. I think it feels like a sustainable strategy, which isn't always true for a guy who's super reactive. Yeah, it's just nice to see. And like I said, this is something he needs to do. He needs to, I think Marty is unfortunately the kind of coach who will run a goalie into the ground if he has to. I don't think he's like willing to gamble on maybe my guys will just manage with this goalie who's not good. And we can't have that, especially if we're looking for playoffs out of Monty, right? Like poor Monty, we can't have him play 60 games. Like it's just not so. So yeah, Dobesh did what he needed to and a little bit more today. I think we're talking if Monty if more goals had gotten scored on Monty and not the emptiness, we're talking fan base starts to talk about who has the net, which first of all, Monty does. But like, that's what I mean in terms of what a good performance it is. So if you're having that conversation, or if you could be having that conversation, it's a good performance.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, this is still Montreal. I think in general, the fan base now thinks so much more long-term and has so much more like quiet confidence than like 10 years ago. But it's still Montreal. And if Monty has like another game that's not like, he wasn't bad in the first game at all, but if he has another game that's not great and Dobesh has like his next game is very great, there'll be people asking for a goalie controversy. Piano Man says, when's the last time we had a goalie controversy in Montreal? Yeah. The media will start pushing that because you got to get them clicks. It's just like, as we started the season, like I've been trying to get as much contact with as many Habs fans as possible heading to this season, just to like feel the vibes and understand where people are coming from right now. And I have felt the most excited ever from this fan base that I've ever felt.
Yeah.
Like people are jacked to watch this team play. And then I saw a bunch of people posting about like, oh, nobody's excited because everybody's worried about the Lane Hudson contract. Dude, no one's worried about that. Like maybe slightly, but like, oh no, they might have to pay him 9.5. Who cares? It's Lane Hudson.
Yeah.
They'll just pay it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like this is just not the thing that we need to be worrying about. And I think there's a lot of circling the wagons to try to get some like negative clickbait going. And that kind of sucks. It kind of sucks. And we don't have to do that.
Dobesh, just really quickly. So they're about the same size, Monty and him, in terms of height. Officially, anyways, he's 6'4", Monty 6'3". So probably Monty 6'2" and he's 6'3". At least let's cut an inch there. But yeah, but he's a lot heavier too. He's 215 pounds versus Monty, who's like 100 or oh no, my entire argument just fell apart. Never mind. I just can't read.
We'll move on. All right, I'll use
moving on.
I'll use Adam777 again. Another 7 actually. It's 4 7s because he said Kapanen seems like a completely different player compared to last year, and Kay and I were excited to talk about Oliver Kapanen. His goal in game 1, phenomenal. I think his goal tonight, it was maybe even better. Like just the way that he transitions the puck. I think the big thing for him to watch is how he's able to intercept passes, get in passing lanes, and like cause turnovers, but not break stride. Like his ability to do that at speed and just move the puck in a completely different direction, it is putting teams on their heels consistently and creating a lot of offense off the rush. And if Demidov can kind of like get a little bit more synced, they're close, but not quite connected in terms of like Kapanen to Demidov. I think Demidov to Kapanen is going very well. Then they're going to be excellent. Like that is a pairing that I would like to see grow together for a bit. Might not always be together, but for now.
But for right now, it's working, right? Like it's amazing to think that going into, honestly, I think it was settled by the last game, but second last game, going into then, there was a chance that he might not even make the team. He might end up in the AHL. So for him to come here and really put his mark on the team so far has been so impressive to see. He knows that like guys like Florian Jacki, Owen Beck, everybody's, right there and very capable of replacing him. So it's good to see someone who is willing to maybe tune out that noise a little bit and focus on his own game and focus on the fact that his biggest advantage will always be if he can keep chemistry with Ivan Demidov. If he can keep Demidov, there's a chance you're staying on the team, even if you're not being super productive. If it's working, and if it's working, you're probably being productive, right? Like it's not, that feels like a duo that's really working. And I think, just a side note, it seems like Marty's found some really good duos this season. The top line being the top line, that's just whatever. But like there's been duos that I think are working, strangely enough. So, and then it's filling out that third guy, which is what used to happen on our top line. So, hey.
Yeah, I mean, duos are kind of the thing, and they have been for a while, right? Like I think Claude Julien used to be all about duos, and then like finding a complementary third here and there. Like it was always Marchand and Bergeron in Boston, right? And they cycled through different line mates on that line, always good. I don't know why I'm always talking about the Boston Bruins, but I really do think if you look at the way that this roster is constructed, they're trying to remake a better version of the Boston Bruins, which makes sense with Jeff Gorton, who was the architect of the Boston Bruins to begin with. We are going to talk. Quickly? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Me and my duo saw you from across the bar, and we really think you have what it takes to be Arthur. Okay, now I'm done.
It's after dark. We're allowed to do that. All right. We are going to shift gears and talk about not necessarily the duos, but players who need a duo in the next segment here. We're going to talk about Kirby Dach and Patrick Laine, but first we got to tell you about our partner, Le Saint Motel, who are back with us again this year. We're so happy to tell you about it because they're just fun. Like these businesses that we're working with, the best thing about it is that we get to support local businesses in our areas that are run by people, not giant corporations, not faceless corporations. That if you want to go check these people out, you can go talk to the owner at the place and like have fun. It's cool. It's relaxed. So check out Le Saint Motel.
While you're browsing Inchu Bijou's goth shop, head next door and discover Montreal's most unique selfie studio. Whether you're looking to take some banger pics of your Halloween costume or cosplay, or you want to make some memories with friends, Le Saint Motel has you covered. Experience their bombastic decors that are always changing, hop in the ball pit, and take advantage of their extensive and flexible on-site lighting. Head to lesaintmotel.com to book your time in the studio, book private time where you and your friends will be the only ones allowed in, or book the space for an event. The dedicated, caring staff will make sure that you have a good time. I do have one warning for you before you book. If you have kids, they won't want to leave. Whether you're at Le Saint Motel or Inchu Bijou, tell them Game Over sent you.
Welcome back, and make sure you smash that like button and head on over to lesaintmotel.com or inchubijou.com. Check them out. And while you're at it, while you're browsing around the internet after this show ends, head to thegameovernetwork.com and read the big-ass article that I wrote to begin this season where I put my heart on my sleeve a little bit and talked about how tough everything has been the first year of doing this and how I realized that I couldn't do it all alone. Not that I was all alone. We have an amazing team here, but I tried to do too much myself last year, and it was a lot. And it was very, very difficult, so I encourage everyone to read that and kind of understand where we're going through. We have a lot of stuff that we're trying to do. Not everything is possible, right? We're trying to do as much as we possibly can while not overtaxing ourselves and trying to bring in some money to this enterprise as much as we can anyway. All right, let's talk about Kirby Dach. Much better game in this one. Now, to be fair, he wasn't trying to face off against Nylander and Tavares, but I thought Kirby Dach's pace in this game looked a lot more like the last 2 games of preseason, and that encourages me quite a bit.
Yeah. I didn't really notice him very much.
Oh, really?
Which, yeah. To be fair, I was also just not looking to notice him, I guess. Which is good, right? Like if I'm not worried about Kirby Dach, that's fine. I do agree. He had a better game than yesterday's. Feels weird to say that and have it be right. But yeah, I felt like he was better than yesterday's game, but I think any game in which Kirby Dach is settling in more and more is a good game. I gotta stop holding my breath with him, I think, is what's happening here. I think the reason why I have such a hard time paying attention to him is because I get very nervous every time I'm paying attention to him. And that is not a sustainable way to watch hockey or live life.
It's very
It
accurate.
didn't,
Very
it
accurate.
seems like there was a lot of honestly, looking at the time on ice, there's a lot of equity. Like it's mostly, even the top line's around 15 minutes, but new hooks in 15 minutes, right? Like I think it makes sense that I saw people as often as I saw them, but maybe I could have seen Doc a little bit more. What were you seeing out of him that you liked a lot today?
It was more than anything, speed of decision making. Less hesitancy, because last year he was very hesitant, not just to go into the boards, which were his bread and butter before he took those 2 knee injuries, but just like deciding what to do with the puck. And tonight, more often than not, he was like, I'm going to give it to Zach Bolduc, which is not a bad choice. But
Fair
I
enough.
thought him, Bolduc, and Gallagher had a really strong game tonight. I don't think Dach was the best player on the line by any stretch. But if he can keep up with those guys, like, they're going to be all right. Like, those guys are pretty good. And I think that there's enough there. There's enough pieces this year to give Kirby Dach some running mates to build his game with. Whereas last year he was on a line that was just like, I don't know, whatever we have left, because 3 lines are working and it's not worth breaking apart one of those 3 lines to like make one person's game a little bit better. That's just not feasible in an NHL schedule. So I think the Canadiens kind of have this situation where they have Dach and Laine, and I don't know if they have the pieces to put both of them in a good situation at once, unless they eventually work together, which I have not seen evidence that would suggest that's going to happen anytime soon. But I do think Laine needs to get a few more puck touches. I know that he didn't get no ice time or anything today, but that line with Evans and Anderson, I like all 3 players for their own specific things, but I don't think Laine fits with those 2. I think those 2 can
It's just
fit
an
together
odd fit.
fine, but he doesn't play the same pace of game as they do. And, Anderson and Evans do put the puck through the middle of the ice quite a bit, and they skate the puck north-south quite a bit. But anytime it goes to the boards, Laine is not going to be very effective for them, and they're a very much grinded out on the boards group, which
I think the idea there is that the 2 of them will do that work and then Line A can capitalize. It just doesn't seem to be working yet.
yeah.
I think just real quick, I don't really know how often. See, it feels like we've seen Line A and Dach together a lot more than we may have because of the fact that they've over a period, it's been a long time, but the amount of time that they've played between the injuries, I don't know quite how much that is. But you're completely right about that, that there's just, with Patty being on the second power play at this point, um, it's I'm definitely not noticing him as much as I could be. Um, I have to say, I do think that like he um is doing perhaps he's moving more. He's moving better than he was last year. You can definitely see that you can
Yes.
definitely tell that he was definitely still bothering him, or maybe the lack of training camp, whatever it was, had caught up with him. So I am seeing better movement out of him. I've even seen him hustle a few times. So there's good things about Line there. There's good things about Doc there. It's just, I'm seeing people. I saw Piano Matt here say that is it bad that I have almost no expectations for Doc or Line, and I feel like that is good, and that is
Yes.
how we would all be best served by approaching these two players in that way. Sucks because you'd like to have a little bit more, but hey, it is what it is.
I mean, having no expectations of them, I think that's just patience, right? I think Doc missed a lot of time. Line A dealt with a pretty serious injury last year and probably should have missed more time, but he was fundamental in them making the playoffs. So like, you can't really, he didn't get further injured. I guess he did in the playoffs, but like it didn't affect him long term. So whatever. Yeah, I like Line A in specific situations. He's always going to be that guy that I think at even strength, he needs a perfect line to take advantage of him. And the Canadiens that's not a priority for them, because as much as he is a savant in terms of shooting that damn biscuit, the rest of his game isn't good enough for them to sacrifice in other areas to bolster him at this stage. So he's kind of just like a bonus power play goal guy who doesn't really have much of a role outside that with this team at this stage. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. Like, you can kind of view him as like the opposite of an enforcer. He's just sitting
That's a
around
luxury.
waiting to shoot pucks in the net. He doesn't have to do much else. Maybe some games he'll play 5 minutes. Maybe some games he'll play 16. Probably depend on power play time.
That's I think where the power play conversation comes in, which I am pretty frustrated with. Not the power play, but the conversation. I think we're all hitting the panic button a little too soon. I get it. I get it's a little annoying to not watch Demidov play on the power play every single opportunity. I get it. But people have to we're not in a scarcity mindset anymore. We have a lot to work with on our power plays. Yes, it's very disconnected. Yes, I don't think it looks great right now, but who was expecting it to look great right now? Because there's a lot of these guys are playing together in a new way. The guys who have been on the power play together, so Slash moved up to a new place, it's all there's a lot of changes. It's the start of the season. I think we need to give it a little bit more time. I think that's let's just take a few deep breaths.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think at this stage in the season, there are things that the Canadiens need to work on. I think it's almost a good thing that it's very clear what they are. They're not like last year where everything fell apart right away and you're like, what the hell is this? Like the defense last year.
When you have a necklace that's super tangled and you're like, where do I start untangling this? I feel like the Habs were that a little bit last year.
And it took them a long stretch to figure it out, right? And they did, which they deserve incredible amounts of credit for. But if this year they're just like second half Canadiens, but with better depth, and we don't have that first month and a half where everything was a disaster, this is going to be a damn fun team to watch. Like, I don't think they're guaranteed to make the playoffs or anything. I think this season has big boom or bust potential, but the boom is serious. Like, if you look at this roster and you just honestly put it against a lot of other teams, it's not a bad roster by any stretch. Like, I know that they were talking about on the broadcast in the first game about whose defense would you rather have, Toronto's or Montreal's. And I saw Elliot Friedman pick Toronto. I mean, I assume that somebody has to, but the entire premise was stupid because there's not a single person in hockey who could be taken seriously would look at the Toronto Maple Leafs almost entirely 30-plus-year-old defense that is not very mobile and not very good and be like, yeah, I'd take that over Lane Hudson and Noah Dobson and Alex Carrier and Mike Matheson. And like, come on now. Let's be real. And I didn't even mention like Caden Gooley. Like,
I was being very good about that. If we in the Q&A, if we want to get into the defense a little bit later, I do have thoughts on that. But yeah, it's really weird. I think I saw someone on the broadcast. I think it was Frankie Corrado. I think I always don't remember how to pronounce his last name. I apologize. But I think one thing that he said that really stuck with me was this is a very experienced group. So it's a very young group, and they are the youngest team in the league, like by average age of roster. They are younger than me by average age of roster, which is so weird. So I think that's something that's really fun is it's a young group. So you have all the good things about the young guys, but then you also have it's Caden Gooley and Slavkovsky's 4th year. Isn't that insane? It feels like it was just last year that I was talking about how Caden Gooley was playing 25 minutes a night as a rookie. Like those were dark, dark times, and it's been 4 years. And they're still young guys. They're still doing things that young guys can do with the energy and being able to hold that. But they have experience. So my point being, Elliot Friedman, that's my point.
Somebody has to take the opposite on those shows. Like they never go all one way. So I don't want to fault Elliot too much, but yeah, it was just a bad segment. It was just a bad segment. All right, let's talk about that top line. I'm going to switch over to period 3 for us. And we're now on period 3. And as we are switching between segments, it is time for me to tell you about things that you could do to help the Game Over Network and Game Over Montreal. Number 1, you can smash like on this video and you can hit subscribe. You could even grab the link and share it on your favorite social media. You could tell your friends, because I know that the people who are here, who are super cool, have cool friends who would like to hang out with us after games and have a good time, because Game Over Montreal is a good time, and it's your good time where you get to decide some of the conversation on your interactive post-game show. But if you really want to support us and throw some money our way, we also have our Patreon. And if you're watching this on the YouTube video, you can click in the description and there will be links to the Discord and the Patreon that we have in there. There's also some links on the YouTube channel itself. And I believe I also have them on the podcast if you're listening on delay on the podcast posting. So you can always find those. This year, Mike from Ottawa, our Game Over Ottawa, Mike Czar is going to be running the Patreon. We're going to try to do some more fun stuff, more interactive stuff there, because again, last year I was trying to run that while doing everything else, and I just didn't have time to do fun stuff that you all deserved. So Mike's going to handle that this year. He's going to bring some fun and create some exclusive stuff for our Patreon as well, so you can do that. And support us on Patreon. We're a company worth supporting. We're a bunch of young people trying to make it in this industry and make cool stuff. So let's do that. And the first line. We always want to talk about it, Kay. Our boy Nick Suzuki, our small goals boy, Cole Caulfield. But the one who stood out to me tonight was one Juraj Slavkovsky, who looks like he is on a damn mission to start this season.
Yep. That is a guy who Arpin Basu had a great article in The Athletic about from Slavkovsky about, he said something about how I want to be a little less, I think I don't know exactly what his terminology was, because I don't think Slav wants to ever tone down his personality, but I think something that he said was, I don't want to talk about what I need to do. I want to do it. And I want to stop talking about it in my post games. I want to stop doing these things. And I think we're starting to see it. I honestly had, as a, excuse me, my bad. I'm gonna need you to cover for me.
Okay, no worries. Okay, I'll jump in. The Slav is, the doing instead of saying is great. And I think he's always really had a great attitude. That's one of the things that I think the Canadiens really keyed in on when they picked him originally, when they were talking about him, was that he was, like, as a person, as a personality, the kind of player that they wanted to add to the team. Not just that, of course, they also loved the player type. And I think that he's really rounding into form as a power forward. But I'm going to stick with my like really optimistic projection for Slav is that through his prime, he's going to be comparable to Marian Hossa. That's going to be his like playing style in general, but a little bit more rough. And if that pans out, I think we're going to be very, very happy, Kay. I think we're going to be very, very happy with Juraj Slafkovsky.
I think it's hard to say that that would be a bad thing, right? I think with Slav, you're really starting to see a guy who gets it, who's starting to really get it. He talked a little bit in that same interview about how I want to, something about wanting to be accountable to the guys next to him. And he talked about, I want to be less accountable to the media. I want to be more accountable to my team. That's what's important to me. And I think that is so big for a guy like Slav. Again, I think we forget he's so much younger. He's like a baby. He's just a little guy who's a very large guy. And I think because of that, we forget that, like, I think this is a player who needed time to mature and time to understand. And he looks like he's ready to play. He looks like he's tired of hearing second half Slav, and he wants to hear just Slav. And good for him. If that's what his goal is, good for him. This team needs that. First line needs that. This line, my hot take, if I recall correctly, last night at Game Over, our crossover with Game Over Toronto, which catch that if you haven't yet. Zach and I bring out the worst in each other, aka the best entertainment. My hot take was, I think that this team's first line can be one of the top 10 in the league at some point. And I think that all hinges on if Slafkovsky can do what Slafkovsky needs to do. He's what makes it work. And obviously all of them are important. I'm not saying that they're not. I just think when he's not on, they're not on. And it's really encouraging to see it happen so early. It's just really encouraging to see. And like you said, I think one of the reasons that they talked about drafting him was, his attitude, and everybody kind of rolls their eyes about that a little bit. But to me, it's very important in a market like Montreal. You can have all the talent you want in the world, but if you can't handle the market and you can't handle the pressure that you are going to be under, unfortunately, as a person, you're not going to thrive. And so the player himself is a good player, and his attitude seems to fit. And it's been so funny watching him just like turn into a shit stir. Like if you see him Scrums, yes. Sorry, took a second there.
It's all good.
But if you see in scrums, you'll just see him like yapping. He does not stop talking, and he'll laugh in guys' faces. Like I'm sure it's a great time for him. So it's so funny to watch him lean into that.
Yeah, and he's always been funny. Like even when he was just like learning English on the fly, really. I know he was more fluent in English than I am in French by a long shot when he was first drafted, but like, still learning the nuances of the language. He was already extremely funny. And from what I've heard from people who are Slovak or speak Slovak, he is extraordinarily hilarious in Slovak. So
I've heard that.
This kid has so much personality, and you're right that some people do think it's silly talking about like personality. And we heard it a lot under Bergevin, the idea of like character, but what he valued as character was crap. Whereas it seems this organization, this management group has a much more applicable understanding of what kind of character matters, and the ability to survive in this market as a first overall pick, as you alluded to, like that's tough. There's a lot of pressure, and even just a high first round pick. Like look what Carey Price had to deal with. Like I still remember in 2009 when the Canadiens got swept by the Bruins in the first round, and Price was like a mess, and they gave him the Bronx cheer in game 4, and he did the like Patrick Waugh hands up thing and being like, oh my God, what is happening here? Like everything is falling apart. And then watching like the post-game presser, and just this kid who had the weight of the world on his shoulders with the hat pulled down and the shadow over his eyes, and you could just see tears streaming down his face. It's like, what are we doing to this guy? Like, this is awful. It makes me feel horrible.
That should be a come
to
to
watch
Jesus
this
moment. Yeah, it really should have.
And it seems like the fan base has grown a lot since then, and I would say media has as well, because there's younger people involved. But again, the media is so old hat that There's not as many young people by now as there should be, almost, like 15, 16 years later. But the point remains, it is better now, but Slav has the personality to make it work as well. And I think also meshes with Caulfield and Suzuki in a way that like all three of those guys at this point are so dedicated to being better every single day that I just expect them to keep on getting better. And it's probably not fair. Like eventually Nick Suzuki has to plateau, right?
Yeah, but not anytime soon, apparently.
Doesn't seem like it.
Doesn't seem like he's ready for that. And good for him, frankly, because I think that Suzuki has been, we're getting into another conversation, but I think what happens at the top really matters. I personally don't subscribe to the philosophy that your best player should be your captain. I just don't agree with that. I think a guy like maybe McDavid was given the captaincy a little too early in his career, right? Like I think these things aren't necessarily correlated, but you want a captain who, even if he's not the most skilled guy on the team, is working hard, is working his ass off all the time. I actually made a joke where it was in the last preseason game, there was somebody scored an empty net goal, and you saw Nick Suzuki stop skating, and I was like, that is the one and only time you'll see Nick Suzuki not bust his ass for an empty net goal, right? Like, and I think that's so important. Obviously, Nick Suzuki's a first-line center, so he is a very good and skilled player. But even if he wasn't, I think the attitude really, really matters. And for Slav at his age to have that, for Cole to have that, even while being a super, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, you have leaders emerging in the locker room. You have a steady veteran in Mike Matheson, Galley. You have a guy like Caden Gooley ready to step up, with Savard gone. Like I think it matters so much. And I'm really excited about this team, Andrew.
So am I. I honestly, like, this is probably too much behind the scenes, but I need the Canadiens to be this fun because I feel like everything in the world is so terrible right now. I need my escape to be fun. And while it's been fun to like look at the future over the last couple of years, more wins would be nice, and I think we're in for more wins. More goals would be nice, and I think we're in for more goals. I saw there was 2 comments here on Slav before we move on to the press conference or overtime segment here that I wanted to get to. I saw Trinka says, I heard someone comparing Slav's development to Matthew Knies and saying that Slav wasn't as good, and I wanted to be like, he's 2 years younger. I think people forget how young Slav is. Yes, and also like Slav already has 2 50-point seasons. Knies has 1. And Knies is older, and his 50-point season came with playing with Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. And I think there was another one here as well. Yeah, Piano Matt says he quoted Slav on draft day, and I remember this when he said,
"I'm so sick of him."
I know. I heard they need somebody to play with Suzuki and Caulfield. Like the balls on this man, and I say man even though he's a large adult child, but. I love the confidence, a guy who a lot of people were like, well, this is a huge reach. I thought huge reach draft day, right? Like I thought they were going to take Shane Wright, and him being like, yeah, I'm going to be on the top line right away. Yeah. That's great.
Isn't that sick? It's so good. And I just want to shout out Adam, who says that Slav is doing exactly the stuff fans have been screaming for him to do for so long. Bully his way to the front of the net and shoot a lot. And Slav has been shooting. He has been shooting. I think it was like his second year or something that he was like, even my mom tells me to shoot a little bit more. And I'm like, I think he's at that point where we all get, where we're like, oh, my mom was right, so I should shoot more. So delayed a little bit, but we got there. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, folks, let's start our overtime segment. So get your questions into the chat. I can't wait to hear what you want to talk about. Switch over there. But before we read some questions, I'm just going to tell you all that we still have awesome merch on our website, thegameovernetwork.com. You can check out this amazing shirt right here, our Montreal skater design by Brady Chalice from Game Over Winnipeg. We also have many other designs there that you can check out. And this is stuff that is intentional. It's not just slapping our logo on a shirt and saying, please buy this. We're trying to, have something we're saying with it, right? Like this shirt is very much a 90s off-brand style shirt that you would get from like a big box store in Canada, where it's like your parents couldn't quite afford official Canadiens merchandise, so you got this one. And I love it. It's so nostalgic to me. There's something about it that just speaks to me. And that's why I wear it all the time, aside from the fact that I have very few clothes that fit these days. But that's a positive more than a negative. It's just, lack of money to buy things. But lots of great merch at thegameovernetwork.com. You can support all 7 of our markets there. There's also some stuff that we're going to be adding soon. I'm actually going to talk to Brady shortly about a few ideas that I have that are super fun. I ran a failed idea by Kay earlier today, which we won't say out loud because it didn't work.
It was bad. It was an acronym that really... It's like, when you have a great idea, you're like, oh, that'd be great. And then you actually write it out. I think it takes a moment where you write it out and you see it in front of you and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's just leave it at that.
It did not work, but we're going to have some cool designs in there. One of the things that I wanted to lean into a little bit was, establishing our voice a little bit more, being a very outwardly, not necessarily political or political campaigny, but we are trying to do something different because the establishment is fucked up right now, right? Nobody is willing to say honest things anymore. Everything is getting more and more right wing. We're just being assaulted by gambling ads and AI slop every second of every day in sports. So we want to build into some of that, that energy that we don't like this crap. We're trying to do something cooler. So we want to have a little bit more fun designs this year that we're going to debut. But all right, let's get to some questions. Let's see what we've got in the chat here. I see. Oh, Mathieu. Nice to see you, Matthew Beret. What is the hockey world going to do about brittle hockey sticks? This is a huge issue so far.
Big if true and very true.
And it's not just the Habs. The Red Wings tonight. It was 7 or 8 broken sticks. Too.
It seems like it went to them because it seemed like it happened to the Habs. Yesterday's game, man, that game winning. Also, by the way, I'm sorry. Why was Sportsnet spelling their name on it the way that they were? It was not. How is Lane Hudson didn't have a stick? Who was it? Noah Dobson or Mike Matheson? They didn't have a stick. How were they supposed to defend? It wasn't a great goal. Anyways,
it wasn't.
We're fine.
When they were glazing Matthew Nyes after, and they were like, "Oh, you see him win that puck battle with Lane Hudson." Hudson didn't have a stick, and he's half his size.
Yeah. Wait. So with Lane Hudson, that reminds me is near the end of this game when things were getting a little bit chippy, and you had that moment of who was it? Ben Sherratt going after Cole Caulfield? ? There was a moment where it was Caden Gooley was getting into it with someone, and then Lane Hudson just comes from behind and he backpacks himself to the guy who's trying to get at Gooley. And he's it's a little bit when a kitten's trying to climb up a pile of something and they're claws or they're doing their best, but it's just really funny to watch him. And that's why Lane Hudson's good at avoiding contact. That's why he's good at avoiding contact.
Very accurate.
You know who else is good at avoiding contact, by the way? I wanted to point it out. Demidov, very good at that. So congratulations.
Yes, he is.
On Demidov. Yeah.
And I'm sure that we'll have lots of time to talk about Demidov coming in the next little while here. I feel like last year, I barely talked about him at all. I was so focused on the team on the ice until he got here. And then when he got here, there was just so much going on. We didn't have that much of a chance to dig in on him that much. And this year's kind of the same. There's so much going on, and he hasn't been bad in any stretch, but he hasn't lit the world on fire either. So I'm just waiting to see what's next for him. And I think that's extremely exciting because you can see the potential every time he's on the ice.
And he's made some great defensive moves too, which is always really exciting for a player his age and his player at his experience level. And I think it's very good sign. It's very good sign. It is a very good sign for him that Oliver Kapanen seems to be putting it together a little bit because I think that's going to be very important for him. Do you remember what was happening with Hudson at the start of his time in the NHL where he was setting up some beautiful plays and it was Brendan Gallagher with the butter hands couldn't get it in. Christian Dvorak missing the golden opportunity. It was all these guys just doing their best. Jake Evans doing his best to do something skilled, but it's not working.
Yeah, so I can't remember if it was. Was it Ian Boisvert or Scott Matla who was tracking the like failed tap-in goals that Lane Hudson
I
should
don't
have
know, but
assists
there were
on?
so many. It could have been a team effort. Like that's how many there were.
There was a
So,
lot. And he still had
so
60
that's what
assists.
it's crazy. So like think of that and think of like, and that's also why I'm not mad at the power play 2 thing. So it's so exciting. I'm so excited. I think every single kind of place that we start in this conversation about the Habs, I end up just being at, but I'm so excited, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Ian Patterson says, does Kapanen remind you of a young Koivu, or am I crazy? I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think it's the acceleration. I think it's the way that he is like so quick in transition. Like young Koivu, before he took that knee injury, was almost Pavel Bure fast. Like he was so dynamic. And I don't know if Kapanen's that fast, but he's also bigger. And like he's got way more acceleration than you would expect from a guy that size. Part of it, I think, is because he's always moving. But yeah, I really like his game so far. I see what you're seeing, Ian. I see it. What about you, Kay?
I unfortunately was not around for that time to know. Uh, not my time, but hey, I love that because everything I hear about Koivu, it seems like a very beloved, the kind of player that I would love. If he's the player that people are like, Nick Suzuki reminds me of him, that's the kind of player I would love. So one of the questions that I saw, and I'm not sure if you were planning on going to this, but was I had this one where I saw it. Da, 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 da. It wasn't a question, but I just want to point it out is that Ian said this is Demidov is playing a great team game so far. He's been pumped for Kapanen. And I think that's been really important too, is it doesn't seem like there's any as of yet, and to be honest, it's only been 2 games. So to be fair to him, that's it. But also it's good that there doesn't seem to be like that much frustration building quite yet. It's good. It's good. That's always good.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be worried about not scoring a goal after the first couple of games or anything. He's playing a very calm game. I think the one thing that I've noticed with Demidov that might hurt him is, and this is something that I think all really highly talented young players deal with when they make the NHL, is that when he does something, he assumes it will be successful. And I love that confidence. I genuinely adore it because I think that you cannot succeed to the level that I think he's going to in the NHL without that confidence. But right now there are moments where he makes a move and assumes that it's going to go well. And he's like already 2 steps ahead with the puck's the other way. He's like, oh crap.
He either waits to see, like he's like, I'm waiting, or it's like he's not quite where he needs to be to wait. So you're right. I think that's one of the things, but it's so cool to watch him adapt in real time because he's the kind of smart player too, to go with the scale where he seems to be absorbing things as they kind of happen rather than and I'm sure like the coaching staff is being very helpful, but I think having that intelligence on ice just really helps. I know the Habs I think are trying to make their thing like their calling card their speed. Which having Alex Newhook as your penalty killer, by the way, love that penalty kill. I'm
looks so
really
good.
excited with what I'm seeing, by the way. That was something I was not very sure about going into this season, so that's a good sign. But yeah, so it's just, I know that like speed is one of their that they want their calling card to be, but intelligence plus speed equals win.
Yes, very, very much so. Very much so. Speed kills, it, especially in the playoffs where you can tire teams out and where they're the youngest team in the league. Like, I think we were joking during preseason, K, that the Canadian strategy is just take every game to overtime so that every other team will be tired by the time the season ends. And they won't be because they're so young. They're just little kids. But hopefully they don't have to do that.
Their games late. Yeah, that's why they start their games late. As I kept saying on Blue Sky and Twitter, is they are little toddlers who just woke up from their naps a little late, and that's okay as long as they wake up eventually.
100%. All right, there was one other question here that I saw that I wanted to get to from Finley Beaton. It says, this question may be early, but if Montreal misses the playoffs this year, is that a failure? That is a good question. And I think it's a complex question in a way because it really depends on how they do it. If they bottom out and like everything falls apart, definitely. You know, like you don't want to see them take a step back, I guess, like emotionally, like in terms of preparedness and like confidence. But if they miss by like a point or something, I don't think that's a huge deal. I think as long as they end this season playing with the same confidence as they're starting it, it's going to be fine. There's a lot of good teams, and hockey is a very random sport. Things can happen, but I do think that there's enough depth on this team that it shouldn't be less likely that they make the playoffs than more likely. If that, like a greater than 50% chance.
I think that this team, just not looking at it in a vacuum, not looking at it in a vacuum. Sorry, I was trying to get my bearings straight there. And if you just look at it from the roster, compare that roster to last year's roster, I think this roster should do better. Overall, I think this roster should do better. So in that way, I think it might be a bit of a failure if they don't. But it really just depends on how they do it. What I want is I don't want them to lose a playoff spot. I want another team to win it from them. Like, that is what I need from them. I don't want them to like poop it away. Like, I don't want a last kind of like losing streaks. Like, listen, they'll have losing streaks. Let's just mentally prepare for that. We'll all feel better when we arrive at it if we're prepared. But I don't want like what happened at the end of last season, right? Because that could have very easily been Columbus is the one in versus Washington than us, right? Like, it could have easily happened, but hey, we did it, so it sucks to suck, I guess. Sorry, I had to get my dig in on Columbus. I now have a thing against them.
Yeah, how dare they have a good story last year and people were like, oh, we're cheering for Columbus. Like, no.
How dare you? Yeah. Sorry, just really quickly, Jean Paul, I wanted to. So I tweeted, I was like, Kirby has a very punchable face, which is good for us because it gets us power plays. But who would you think? Who else would you say also has an advantage of having a punchable face?
Oh, Gallagher.
Well,
Extremely. Especially when his bucket's off.
He has a disadvantage then of the refs don't care. That's the give and take.
That's true. I don't think Josh Anderson has a punchable face 'cause he's very pretty, but he's been good at drawing penalties so far this year. I enjoyed his strategy tonight of he felt a hook in the hands and just threw his stick at the boards, and the refs were like, sure.
Sure, why not? It works, right? Like, if it's the Timmy Stutzla method of drawing penalties, go for it.
Yeah, make it real obvious. All right, let's end it there. Oh, sorry, Kate, go for it.
I was just gonna say, I feel like Slav has that potential. The face in the way where it's like he's so handsome and like conventionally just got everything, that like cheekbones and jawbone and everything. I feel like he could be very punchable in that way. If you're just jealous of my beautiful first overall pick and you actually hate fun and beauty and whimsy, then you might think he has a punchable face.
Well, we broached this topic last year, right? The thing that makes Slav have the punchable face, like, yes, part of it is that he's deeply attractive and like, yeah, he's a very attractive kid, but also he's got that goofy, the hyuk, right? When he does something, and it's just like, I can't imagine how frustrating that would be to have this little kid just, I mean, he's not little, but he's a big kid who just dunks on you all the time and then just gives you the hyuk. And yeah, I would want to punch him too, but I love that he's on our team.
That's what I wanted the last bit to be about Slav and his wonderful hyuk capabilities.
Gotta love Slav. Live, Slav, love, as they say. All right, this is Game 2 for Game Over Montreal 2025-2026 season with Kate, Imam, and Andrew Berkshire. Please smash like on this video. Subscribe to Game Over Montreal. Subscribe to Game Over Network. Head to thegameovernetwork.com and check out all the stuff that we're doing. Check out our other markets. You know, sign up to our Patreon. Jump on our Discord. Hit us up. You can direct message me on Discord or tag me. Ask questions. We'll answer. We're around there. That's our workspace. So we're in there.
A little bit more activity there. So you're welcome. We would love to have people there.
Exactly. And one of the things that I'm thinking about doing this year, it won't be every game because I have children and my wife teaches dance at night often. So we're constantly trying to balance schedules to live in late stage capitalism and afford our rent. But
Really?
I'm going to try to be live during a few games this year. Probably like one a week kind of thing. I won't be able to do this Saturday, but I'm going to try to do one next week. And we'll just have like a watch along hangout. The way I see it is not like, I'm not going to sit there and chat and analyze the whole game. That's what Game Over is for. The watch alongs that I want to do is just hang out, like sitting on your couch, friends, watching the game together. And we're going to set it up so that if you're on the Patreon, even the free tier, you can join on voice chat through the Discord and just chat with us live on the show there, watch hockey together, enjoy ourselves. We're going to try to do some special events like that this year and create some more stuff that you want to see. So if you want to see something specific, more bonus videos or like, Kay and I do some sort of fun thing. Kay's got tons of cool ideas that we haven't been able to like push through yet just because like timeline constraints. But if you want to see something, you have an idea that you want us to try out, shoot us a message, especially on the Discord. Like that's the best place, honestly, to get a hold of us because you can talk to all of us at once. It's not like a social media where you have to tag everyone. All right. 100%. I will exit this show and close out for the night. I will finally say goodbye. It's so tough to do it. I've missed everyone so much over the summer. I was so looking forward to doing this, and it's great to see Kay's smiling face as well. Goodbye. See you next time.
Bye.